All right, I'm just gonna get through this one last take. If it kills me, if it deletes me from this mortal coil. So click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, join the Discord and the Telegram. Though, wear your asbestos panties because those are kind of free speech zones. As far as I don't set the terms of service. The terms of services are set by the platforms themselves. So as long as you stay within their platforms, I don't care what you say, as long as the FBI doesn't kick down my door or burn me alive, as they seem to enjoy and do. I just cannot stay on track. It's really challenging. I don't know how people make YouTube videos. Like, there are so many important issues to talk about, and you just can't address that kind of stuff on YouTube because Google is ass clown. Okay, so the left, these cultural Bolsheviks, brought to you by Bank of America and George Soros, funding Black Lives Matter to the tune of $1.3 billion, buying homes in California for the leaders of Black Lives Matter who are not currently serving 6 years in prison for election fraud and perjury. Oh, what a great movement we have here. I totally trust George Soros and Bank of America. They're kind of the same. Anyway, so these people, the left, are they're like a pit bull with a child. They just keep coming back. They maul one victim to deletion, and then they come back, find another. Quick, feed me a fresh little child. The image of the pit bull swimming out to the lake to rescue the child, to drag it back to shore, and then maul it to death. I know our guys love pit bulls, but I'm gonna always keep it 100 with you. So Awkwafina, they will not let her go. She's been in and out of the news for years because she does a really cringy accent. And I love racism and sexism and whatever as much as the next person. But her accent is just like, the person she's really making fun of is herself and everyone associated with the movie because it's so embarrassing. It's such a bad accent. It's like, this is what you think black people sound like? Because, like, even people who aren't not politically correct know they don't sound like that. I mean, you're doing some weird stereotype that is all up in your own head about what you think a Chinese lady thinks a black lady would sound like, or something. It's like if you were in North Korea and you smuggled DVDs from China that were filmed off a TV movie that was made in Turkey, based on an American Batman movie, and you're trying to do the accent based, like 3 steps removed from the source material, and it's her thing's on YouTube. It's so friggin' cringy and it's so embarrassing. Anyway, somehow it's cool for her to do an Ebonics accent, which is just not even Ebonics. It's fucking bizarre. But I can't do an Asian accent because I would get different rules for different people. Imagine me doing a Chinese accent and saying how offensive it was how offensive it was to stereotype black people while I was doing a Chinese accent. Would it be hysterical? Yeah, it probably would be. But YouTube is the way it is. So the left eats themselves. They eat their own. This is an interesting story. Oh, is it 10 minutes? Because it feels like you're being distracted on purpose, like with you're being subverted with a shiny object. Like Occupy Wall Street used to be it was a class-based issue, which is like, if you're gonna have a revolution, the strongest foundation is going to be a class-based revolution between the haves and the have-nots. Us, the 99% versus the 1%. But the bankers, the media, they got really nervous when they saw that. So what did they do? They subverted and subverted and subverted. And next thing you know, that they turned that class war into race war, because whenever their power structure got threatened, they had to immediately seize control. And they did it. They did it pretty effectively. If you look at the people who were pulling the strings in BLM and Antifa, it's not organic when Bank of America and George Soros are finding it. Anyway, so no, I can't do a Chinese accent on YouTube. I don't think they'd be cool with it. So, the left eats themselves, and they're focusing on this one chick who used an Ebonics accent for some movies. And, but, you're not kind of focused on, I don't know, say HBO was the movie company, and you got directors and producers and investors and people calling the shot at HBO. It's like, oh, so, HBO okayed this, multi-billion-dollar corporation. Maybe focus on HBO and not just focus on, and, I hate to defend her because because she wouldn't defend us because they don't defend principles. They don't have principles. But, you know, if you're focused on her and you're not focused on HBO that okayed the thing or Netflix, you're really kind of missing the point, because she's just an actor. It's like, why did you take the role where you did that stupid accent? And it was stupid. It was like embarrassingly cringy, stupid secondhand embarrassment. I did it because they paid me $137,000 for the role. That's why I did it. I did it for money. Oh, okay. Well, I can respect that. It's like, yeah, why don't you talk to the HBO CEO who, you know, made $14 million last year, who signed off on this? Why don't you talk to him? Oh, I don't know. It feels like they're shifting the narrative away from like the top echelon, these 1%ers, down to some actress who, I'm sure she's successful as an actress, but, you know, she's probably worth a few $1 million, but she's not the one calling the shots. She's the puppet, not the puppet master. It feels like we're being manipulated away from the higher ups to focus on someone like her, which is what Twitter is good for. If you want to manipulate people into like dopamine fueled fake outrage, Twitter is really good for that. The whole Joe Rogan thing it's like Joe Rogan's been on the air for, you know, a decade, I think. And he's been saying this kind of stuff for a long time. So you're just outraged about it now? Huh. It doesn't feel organic to me. It feels like it feels like the Occupy Wall Street, Bank of America thing all over again. The puppet masters are getting a little bit nervous about Joe Rogan, so they're doing everything they can to throw the kitchen sink at Joe. He's a threat to our democracy. This disinformation he's peddling. Oh, what has he said that's wrong? Because, you know, I've got video clips of Joe Biden, Rachel Maddow, the good Dr. Fauci themselves literally saying things that are objective misrepresentations of the truth. Should we cancel them too? Oh, well, science evolves. Science constantly evolves. All right. You know, again, it feels like it's a little bit of selective outrage. Howard Stern, he, you know, painted his face black several times, and he did various stereotypical jokes. And so did Sarah Silverman. And so I think Sacha Cohen impersonated other groups. So did Jimmy Kimmel. It's weird that you guys don't go after them. You're just going after Joe Rogan. Huh. Because Howard Stern, you know, he's big on satellite radio, but he's not setting the narrative the way Joe Rogan is, because Howard Stern's he's just the same puppet for the same puppet masters, and so are Silverman and Kimmel. Like, they're saying what they're... Gee, you're really stunning and brave when you're saying exactly what Coca-Cola, MSNBC, and every other major advertiser or network is saying. You're exactly on board with what they're saying. Oh yeah, we're fighting the power. Wait, aren't you the same guys who doxed the people who were on J6, the people who actually were fighting the power? They actually did a protest in Washington, like talking about Rage Against the Machine. Didn't they show the photos and work with the FBI to track those people down? That's a band called Rage Against the Machine. You guys did that. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's our... We're upholding our values. So exactly what are your values if you're fighting the power? How exactly are you fighting? The J6 people were fighting the power. Maybe you disagree with them or don't disagree with them, but they were speaking truth to power to the government. So, you know, now like Rage Against the Machine and all these people who are on the left are now working for the FBI. And let's fight those truckers who are speaking out against forcing people to do things they shouldn't be doing. Oh, yeah, the truckers are the problem. I feel like the left has had a massive shift. Like, shouldn't you guys be up there with them, supporting them? Like, I feel like if this was the 60s or 70s, musicians would be up there. You know, musicians, following the history and the subversion of music is a real blast, because at one time they would be up there with them, supporting them. Now it's not music, it's subverted corporate music. Like, they'll do whatever their puppet masters tell them to do. It's like this boiling frog thing where it's shifted, where now you've got you know, Neil Young and Rage Against the Machine, who are working for and supporting the government. Even you have Antifa, like, yeah, we're fighting the power, we're fighting the state. So you have this other group of peaceful protesters who are opposing mandates, and then Antifa goes and attacks them. So de facto, that makes Antifa supporting the government side. Yeah, we're fighting the fascists. So wait, you're fighting the people who are opposed to the government authoritarianism. Yeah. So, I mean, doesn't that make you the brown shirts? Yes, yes. They're just reactionary. Like all these people are reactionary. I see I got off track. I don't know if like is this video dealing with there's a lot of hot button issues. I don't know why I cover these because it's fun to cover, but it's so tricky to make them on YouTube. It's almost impossible. Like I mean, the whole issue is dealing with her. Is essentially the core issue is blackface, which is an algorithmically hot word, but I said it after 10 minutes. I'm cool, but it deals with a lot of Hollywood who's very comfortable with that and impersonating other ethnicities. And like nobody had a problem with it for the past 50 years. It was A-okay. And now you have a problem with it. Don't get me wrong, I'm saying you shouldn't have done it back then. You shouldn't do it now. It's good that you're stopping this, but eventually like it also comes down to this other point of you're saying different tribes of people don't get along. That's the one thing Twitter will teach you is you see how much different tribes hate each other. And so I always have these conversations with people like that on Twitter. I say, so in principle, would you say that separation is something we should move forward? And then they immediately start backing up, backpedaling, because they don't want to say yes for some reason, which is weird because I see it as like, yeah, people just don't have they don't have a path to move forward where every conflict along ethnic lines is a massive, massive conflict. And I'm more on the side of, and I don't mean like an ethnic separation necessarily, but an ideological one where you believe in the principles of free expression, where if Joe Rogan wants to drop whatever words he wants to say, or who's the guys who did white chicks, like offensive? Yeah. The Wayans brothers. But like, if you don't like white chicks or Joe Rogan or, this chick doing her accent, it's like, oh, you just don't have to watch it. Like, yeah, I don't like a lot of these things. I just don't have to watch them if I don't like them. So I'm talking about that. Like, you believe in the principles of free expression or not? Because there's a big part of the country now who does not believe in that. They actively want censorship. I always say the truth doesn't fear investigation. I would say those two things are pretty good dogmas. Like, you believe in that the truth doesn't fear investigation, and you don't support censorship. You have the right to associate with the groups you want to associate with, and you don't have to be exposed to things. And, this is one thing where trigger warnings, I actually agree with trigger warnings. You could say a show like some show comes out, and you can have a list of trigger warnings, say, like, this is going to be offensive to these different groups. We're going to make fun of the Irish, the Russians, and I don't know, her doing a black accent. It's like you could list these trigger warnings, and you go like, okay, I don't want to see this. But I wouldn't say you shouldn't do it, and I wouldn't petition a theater not to show it. I'd just be like, okay, give a trigger warning. If you don't want to support this, you don't have to support it. So I would say that's a big ideological difference. The people who support free expression, the people who don't. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.